Strangers from distant lands, friends of old, you've been summoned here to answer the threat of Mordor.
Welcome in, wizards and wargs. My name is Jank, and today we're taking a look at Call of the Ring, my latest deck for the historic format on MTG Arena. This is a best of one deck that includes cards from the latest set, The Lord of the Rings, Tales of Middle-earth. To be exact, there's 24 copies of new cards in here, and we're going to take a look at them before the rest of the deck. First up, let's take a look at the namesake of the deck, Call of the Ring. Call is an enchantment. It costs 1 black and 1 colorless mana, and it reads, at the beginning of your upkeep, the ring tempts you. We'll get to that in a second. Whenever you choose a creature as your ring bearer, you may pay 2 life. If you do, draw a card. Now, this warrants some explanation. The ring is a new emblem with some special mechanics. Let's take a look. As the ring tempts you, you get an emblem named the ring if you don't have one. Then your emblem gains the next ability and you choose a creature you control to become or remain your ring bearer. The ring can tempt you even if you don't control a creature. The ring gains its abilities in order from top to bottom. Once it gains an ability, it has that ability for the rest of the game. Each time the ring tempts you, you must choose a creature if you control one. Each player can have only one emblem named the ring and only one ring bearer at a time. The abilities in order are 1. Your ring bearer is legendary and can't be blocked by creatures with greater power. 2. Whenever your ring bearer attacks, draw a card, then discard a card. 3. Whenever your ring bearer becomes blocked by a creature, that creature's controller sacrifices it at the end of combat. And 4. Whenever your ring bearer deals combat damage to a player, each opponent loses 3 life. Now I read all that text to get to the fun part of the deck that utilizes the ring emblem, and that's our first creature, the savior of Middle-earth, Frodo Baggins. I love janky alternate win cons and making them work, which is why I was more excited about Frodo than any other card in the set, and the reason I'm here talking to you today. We've got 4 copies of Frodo Sauron's Bane. Frodo is a white 1-drop with power and toughness 1/2 and has 2 abilities. The first one costs 2 mana in any combination of white and black, and it reads, if Frodo Sauron's Bane is a citizen, it becomes a halfling scout with base power and toughness 2/3 and lifelink. His second ability costs 3 black, and it reads, if Frodo is a scout, it becomes a halfling rogue with, whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, that player loses the game if the ring has tempted you 4 or more times this game. Otherwise, the ring tempts you. Now that looks like a lot of work to win, and to be honest it is, but it actually works a lot better than I had originally hoped, and it's a lot of fun to make happen. So to be clear, for this to work, both of Frodo's abilities need to have been activated before he deals combat damage the last time, and you need to have been tempted by the ring 4 or more times. He does need to be unblocked to hit, but this is a lot easier if he's your ring bearer at the time, as he won't be able to be blocked by any creatures with power greater than his, limiting your opponent's blocking options. His abilities can also be activated at instant speed, so if you have enough mana open, you can attack while he's still at 1 power, slip by a bunch of power 2 defenders, and activate after blocks before damage is dealt. As soon as Frodo deals combat damage, his last ability will trigger, and if you've been tempted 4 or more times, you win the game. No ifs, ands, or... Platinum Angel. That's still a thing. But where would Frodo be without his constant companion, Samwise the Stouthearted? Sam is partly here for flavor, as I don't think any Frodo deck would be complete without him, but he'll also help us pry Frodo back from an early grave just as he does in the story. Samwise is a legendary halfling peasant with flash costing 1 white and 1 colorless mana. He's a 2/1, and he reads, when Samwise the Stouthearted enters the battlefield, choose up to 1 target permanent card in your graveyard that was put there from the battlefield this turn. Return it to your hand. Then the ring tempts you. So not only can Sam get one of our creatures back, but he's also an instant speed ring trigger, allowing you to be higher up on the temptation count than your opponent expected, and can even be flashed in before Frodo deals combat damage to get that 4th temptation for the win. But there's another halfling that shadows Frodo's trip to Mordor, and this deck wouldn't be complete without a copy of Gollum, Patient Plotter. Gollum is a legendary halfling horror costing 1 black and 1 colorless mana, coming in with a power and toughness of 3/1. He reads, when Gollum Patient Plotter leaves the battlefield, the ring tempts you. You can pay 1 black and sacrifice a creature to return him from your graveyard to your hand at sorcery speed. Again, Gollum is only here for a bit of flavor as well as an extra temptation from the ring. You won't find yourself getting him back from the graveyard that often, but the option is there if you need it. Rounding out our group of creatures from the Middle-earth, we have
the Nazgûl, ring wraiths.
These guys have a special line of text that allows you to have 9 copies in the deck, and the only way I'll have it is with 1 of each artwork. Nice touch. The Nazgûl cost 1 black and 2 colorless mana, are Wraith Knights, and have a starting power toughness of 1/2 that will quickly increase, as every time the ring tempts you, each Nazgûl will place a 1/1 counter on every Wraith you control. They also have Death Touch, and trigger a ring temptation themselves when they enter the battlefield. If Frodo can't sneak through with the ring, these guys will trample through your opponent. They also do a great job of holding down the fort while you're trying to get that goofy win con set up, as it's not much fun to charge into a bunch of death touch defenders. Anyone hungry? Next up we have
Lembas.
Lembas is a 2-drop artifact that reads, when Lembas enters the battlefield, scry 1, then draw a card. You can pay 2, tap it, and sacrifice Lembas to gain 3 life. When Lembas is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, its owner shuffles it into their library. Besides some great flavor, the Elven Bread is here to offer us a bit of card filtering as well as life gain. Never leave home without it.
How many did you eat? 4.
Next up, we have 2 copies of Reprieve. An instant that costs 1 white and 1 colorless, Reprieve will return target spell to its owner's hand, as well as drawing a card. Usually this is going to buy us an extra turn, whether your opponent just wasted all their mana on a big creature or a board wipe that's now back in their hand. Our final spell from Middle-earth you may not remember from the movies, but book lovers will remember the Battle of Bywater. The sorcery costs 2 white and a colorless mana, and it reads, destroy all creatures with power 3 or greater, then create a food token for each creature you control. This will often take out your Nazgûl, but leave Frodo untouched and ready to deliver the killing blow. Leaving Middle-earth, we come to the rest of our deck, and the only creature we haven't discussed, Gingerbrute. This deck runs 4 copies of the 1-drop artifact creature with haste, and his 1-mana ability that makes him unblockable to creatures without haste for the turn comes in very handy if you make him the ring bearer and you're looking at a bunch of 1-power defenders on the other side. More important than getting the 1 damage across is the card draw that he'll get you from the ring emblem. I've had more than one stalemate where Gingerbrute drew me answers I needed off the ring emblem. The rest of our non-land cards are removal. We're running 4 copies of Bloodchief's Thirst and 4 copies of Baleful Mastery for problem creatures and planeswalkers, as well as 2 copies of Path of Peril in case our opponents are going wide. There's a plethora of dual-color lands available in the historic format, and I encourage you to use what you have copies of before spending wildcards. For me, that meant a mixed bag of lands as well as 5 swamps and 2 plains. This part of the deck isn't set in stone, and it could be tweaked a bit for different results. One pair of cards that could be squeezed in here are the new legendary lands for their respective colors, Minas Tirith and Barad-dûr, adding a little more card draw and an opportunity to amass orc armies. As it is, I've really enjoyed playing the deck so far and have been having a lot of success with it. If you'd like to try it yourself, there's a deck list down in the description below that you can copy and paste directly into the deck section in Arena. That's all the jank you get today, but if you enjoyed this deck tech, I hope you'll give us a like and a subscribe. Let me know if you'd want to see more deck techs in the future down in the comments section, and until next time, opt for greatness.